And welcome back to the LEC, where we're entering the round 2 of the summer split playoffs. And what a way to kick off the rest of the round as we throw it back a decade with the original El Classico between Fnatic and SK, followed by a rematch of the Spring Split upper bracket finals with G2 and BDS. I'm Laure, and today I'm joined by Odoamne in Team Vitality Pad. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Vitality made it to playoffs somehow. Somehow we made it.
I've been there, you know, I've been kind of cheating it, and I've been making playoffs this way a couple of times now, so
yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah,
That's what we're here
you're
for.
the veteran here. You're gonna talk us through, help him actually get through today. Pad, let's talk about the beginning of playoffs. It's been one hell of a weekend.
It's been crazy. I think we've seen some high-paced League of Legends. We've seen some actionable game. I think, like, if we start with the SK series, I think they look really solid versus Heretics. I think Heretics were really slow out of the gates. But SK just played good. They just played really good, nice, aggressive, like they've played all year long.
Yeah, and when you look at the 4 top teams that we had, only SK and G2 actually went 2-0, and they look like the strongest team we had right now in playoffs.
Exactly. G2 has been ramping up ever since week 2, I guess, because week 1 was a little bit of a slump coming back from MSI and everything. So they've been ramping up. Expected performance from them with a KC that was, you know, struggling. All things considered, they made playoffs, so it was great for them. But still, it was nice to see what the G2 and SK could do compared to all the other teams.
Yeah, I think Keiko put up a decent showing versus G2, right? Like I don't think we expected the games to be this close, right? They had to close out one of the games, like both games plus 30 minutes. And I think especially Vladi and Closer, like they did really good job of attacking mid lane, which is something that a lot of teams had tried over a lot of years versus G2, but have not been successful at doing. So like kudos to them.
And when you look at the other 2 top teams that we had, I want to talk about Fnatic mostly and BDS, because that was underwhelming for them. It's not what we expect from teams that perform so good in the regular season.
Especially from Fnatic. They ramped up, sure. The series looks shaky at first, but those tower dives are not, you know, plays that we expect from Fnatic, especially given how strong their early start to the season was. Ever since that G2 loss, it felt like everything went downhill. Regardless, Razork stepped up. Everyone did their part in games 2 and 3 to step up and clutch out the win, because, man, it really wasn't looking great at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think,
Go ahead.
I think Giant X actually looked really good in this series, especially game 1 and for the most part of game 2 as well, right? So I think they forced Fnatic to develop over the series and kind of find themselves again in game 3, where we saw like the strong Fnatic that we know that secures the early drops and transfers pressure really well in order to hit the plates really aggressively, get a lot of plates, get a lot of turrets, and I think like that's the Fnatic we've been missing. Yeah,
and on the other side, I mean, with these teams and these victories that they grabbed, they advance to season finals, and we're actually gonna see them in season finals. But when you look at GX and KC, Pat, you were saying it, KC surprising against G2, but I think the same thing can be said about GX here.
Yeah, definitely. They started ramping up a lot more throughout the split. Sure, they made playoffs with 3 wins, but they were one of the only teams that had clear identities going into all of their games. The 2 to 3 frontline champions that work well with the backline carries that GX wants to provide. Still, I wasn't really a fan of Ignar on the Braum and on the Nami. I still feel like they benefit the most from his... He has a great sense of pulling the trigger. So champions like Alistar, Leona, Rel are champions that he always does very, very well. And I think they should stick with that again going into next week.
And that's just round 1. And despite the intensity of all of this game, our elimination will only begin next week. And more importantly, we're going to start with the lower bracket of the tournament on an adjusted schedule. Reminder to all of you guys at home, next week we're going to have a mega week for the LEC finals, and we'll play through the lower bracket and the upper bracket on Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, followed by all the remaining games of the Summer Split final. That's going to take place on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So we're going to be away for exactly 6 days, but in 1 week we're going to kick off 6 games in 8 days. Tickets are still available at immediatetickets.lollysports.com. We've talked about the teams, but now I want to talk about the meta actually, because we've seen a lot of new champions on this new patch, and the first one I want to talk about is Braum. I want you guys to tell me if this champion is underrated or overrated. You guys at home can tell us in chat, of course. You were just talking about Braum and Ignar. What do we think about the champion globally?
I think this champ is really overrated, specifically into AP junglers. I think that this champion does the opposite of what you want against AP junglers. Like if you look back to our Vitality games and how we got stumped playing our Karthus and our Talia, I think like overloading engage into these AP junglers, and specifically with Sejuani as well, has been a winning recipe why Braum hasn't found a lot of like wins versus these AP junglers.
And for me, when I look at it, MDK had mixed success with it. Sure, they lost the series, but it did look pretty good. But I attribute a lot of the power of the Braum pick to team comps that are a little bit disjointed. They don't have clear identity. BDS, especially in game 1 when Braum picked up the win, their team comp was a little bit all over the place. They had mixed engage, not clear targets that they can go on, and Braum shines in these messy team fights where he can cut the tempo and slow everything down.
Talking about AP junglers, Nidalee, a champion that we saw again at MSI. We know that it's really popular in the LCK as well. I think of Nidalee, I think of Canyon, but I did not expect Isma to play Nidalee, especially, Pad.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. Like, if you look at Isma and what he's been successful on historically, it's been facilitators, right? Like the Maokai, the Sejuani, the Rel. But I was pleasantly surprised by his Nidalee performance, because like the way that SK played out this game with securing a lot of drops early and transferring pressure and actually just taking all of the turrets off the map was sort of like seeing a mini Canyon. That's I never thought I would call Isma this, but he had a good game.
So underrated or overrated compared to the other AP junglers before?
For me, extremely overrated. I think no matter what champion you would have slotted in there, it would have done exactly the same job for SK.
Then staying in the jungle, what did we think about Amumu from GX?
Oh, that's a GX special. Peach loved it as well. It makes sense given what GX is trying to achieve with this triple front line, double AD's carry backline. You don't have a lot of AP damage threat, and when you have, in this game, for example, Alistar and Ornn, the passive of Amumu procs 2 damage on all the champions, and it brings a little bit of oomph in the damage department, the magic share. But for me, it still feels like they're trying to band-aid something by making this champion fit into their style that they want. And it also fits this AP jungle, AP damage. Oh my god, what am I saying? The missing AP damage source that the team comp needed. So for me, it was still a little bit overrated. There's a reason why no one is playing it, and it's not really a meta pick right now.
Saj Mumu is going to stay Saj. We actually have one last champion that we want to go through, Tristana. But instead of asking you guys, we actually ask one of our favorite Tristana players in the LEC what he thinks of Tristana's flows currently in the meta. Let's take a look.
What's Tristana's weaknesses right now? Yeah, good question actually.
I think that says enough about the state of Tristana. We're going to have time to talk about this later. But sorry, Bad, we're going to leave you. We have to go to the movies.
Enjoy the movies.
We have El Clasico ahead of us. And it's been used in the recent years to refer G2 and Fnatic. But for those who've been around to know what the OG El Clasico started, it was over a decade ago. And it was SK and Fnatic, 2 of the most prestigious organizations, but not only in League, but across a lot of titles. Hysterix, thank you so much for saving us.
I've been waiting here for ages.
Yeah,
you told me you were going to see a classic. Half the popcorn's almost gone, by the way. There was so much more.
Oh my god.
Salty. Not sweet. Sweet. Anyone who's sweet, criminal. Absolute criminal.
El Clasico started a decade ago, but I don't think you're familiar with this one.
I was watching in Australia at 1 a.m. in the morning.
You saw the sequels, but this is the OG one.
I was there live for the...
Really?
Yeah.
You're old, man.
Forgiven? That used to be one of the best bot lanes in the league.
It used to be terrifying. Playing against them, your tower would fall at minute 8 and your tier 2 would fall at minute 14, where nowadays you can get the tier 1 before 14. It used to be accelerated. He was ahead of his time.
One tower's a laser as well, near the Nexus too.
Oh yeah, that was
a laser inhibitor turret. But it's crazy, like you see some old faces here that I've only seen like
most
in
of them
Leaguepedia.
are gone. It's crazy.
They're no longer in the trade,
Some
right?
of them is coaching the league now. But
yeah, 2 of them
this
for
used to be prime SK gaming, and it used to be what Europe it was about. But not only that, because when you look on the other side of the rift, Fnatic 2015 for me symbolizes League of Legends so much. It was the most successful iteration of the team we had back then. I know how they made Europe dream back then. I think of Steelback, I think of Yellowstar, but Hooneering over?
They were a menace on the Rift. I was playing back then, playing against both of these teams, SK and Fnatic. It used to be terrifying in different ways, but especially against Fnatic. Huni and Rainover, I remember the Rek'Sai
Man.
times where Rainover would just come to my lane 100 times.
This was some of Huni's best players as well, like right
Yeah.
before or after SKT?
Huni's Riven. After.
After, right? And I feel like he's still coming off a
Before,
time
yeah.
I remember watching. But Huni's a classic game. How young he looks in this beach
I
as
know.
well.
This
It
is
was-
Holo phase.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the beginning of Holo Holo. But what happens today? What happens when we see this reboot? Because I feel like this year we saw some really bad sequels of El Clasico.
Yeah.
But what is the reboot gonna be about this time, guys?
For me, unironically, it looks exactly the same because
Oh.
SK, when I looked at SK back then, they had strong individual players everywhere. Freddy
Yeah.
was coming off of Worlds, being one of the best top laners at the tournament. Forgiven was ramping up really hard and he was just rising the Rift. But Fnatic as well. Fnatic had Huni and Rainover taking over the Rift. And right now, when you look at Fnatic, what is their identity? Humanoid and Razork doing exactly the same. So
True.
it's been 10 years, but the style of the organization stays exactly the
They
same.
just come back around to
Yeah.
the same thing, hey, as well.
I kind of want to look at bot lanes here, though, because we've been
Oh.
talking so much about the bot lane from Fnatic and from SK, but these guys in the mid lane, what do we think? How do we think this
Because I
one's
know
going to
people
go?
saying bot shy, but at the moment people say mid shy for this guy, right?
Is it going to be mid shy?
Humanoids had a bit of downtime, I think, as well. The Humanoid Razork synergy hasn't been there. The biggest thing I'm looking at right now is Niski. He's playing his role for the game. He's got a really strong bottom lane, so he can flourish. Niski doesn't have to worry. He doesn't have to babysit anymore. Look at that, man. Would I want him for a babysitter is the next question.
Where's
Like-
going to be the mid diff?
What is going to be the mid diff? For
Yeah.
Niski, of course. Niski is having the split of one of his better splits right now with his bot lane being so dominant. Niski is a facilitator. That was always his style. He likes to get other people ahead, and right now he has a superstar bot lane that he can get ahead, and he's going to get them rolling.
How do you facilitate a bot lane that can't get ahead, that is unreliable in X kick and DOS? Just
Well,
saying.
we're going to check right now, actually, because we have some words to share on bot lane. I think Genie caught up with one of the stars of the movie, and he's standing by. Noah is in the Marriott Bonvoy pregame lobby. Now I wanna
Thank
watch
you
that
so much,
movie. Let's
Lore.
go.
Hi guys, I'm Ginny, joined with Noah from Fnatic. We're on the big screen. Let's talk about the game that you have coming up. You're going to be going up against SK. And when we're looking at SK at the start of the split, a lot of questions about their bot lane. But now everyone is saying this is the best bot lane currently in the LEC. How does it feel from your perspective to be going up against them?
I mean, everyone think about this, I know, but it's not true because I think we are best and they don't know about like Scream or like, you know. I mean, Fnatic was looking bad for a long time, I mean 3 weeks, but I think still we are best bot lane, so yeah, that's it.
All right, when it comes to going up against that bot lane, for you as the AD carry, going up against SK, what is going to be your focus for today?
I mean, we are always focusing to. I mean, you asked me and June, right?
Yeah.
About what? Yeah, we are focusing about laning pass and move to mid or like jungle. So it's important to play good in lane pass. And if we have prior, I think we can easily win. So yeah, we need to focus lane pass.
How are you going to get the prio? What do you think the team has to do to give you prio in bot lane?
But I think this is for our servers. Like if me and June playing good, I think we can win easily. So it's not from team, yeah.
Is it going to be a 2v2? Like, are we going to see any tower dives? Maybe?
Yeah, I
Yeah?
think so.
Okay, very aggressive bot lane. Anything you want to say in terms of when it comes to this game against SK, if you do lose, going to be locked into that lower bracket, any words of encouragement to the fans?
I mean, from last year, we didn't lose any BO3 against SK from last year summer. So we're gonna win. So you don't need to worry.
All right, a movie that we've seen before. Thank you so much, Noah, for your time.
Yeah.
I do appreciate it. Casters, we're going to be heading over to you, so guys, take it away.
Thank you.